So I was watching this YouTube video the other day, and there was this business coach on stage who invited some questions from the audience. So one of the guys stood up and asked about how he could move his business. He could grow his business from 2 million a year to 100. And immediately I was tempted to completely judge the guy because I thought it was unrealistic. The coach also said as much and just wondered about how the guy was unrealistic, not in his goal alone, but also how long a time horizon he was giving himself to get there because he wanted to do it in 1 year. Now, I went on to think more about this situation, and then it struck me that big goals are not necessarily a problem, right? So it's one thing to be ambitious and another thing to be unrealistic. So moving 50 times, getting 50 times bigger or going 50 times faster, right, is essentially what the guy was talking about, whether or not he had thought about it. Now, when I think about that bigger goal, I think about how from the outside looking in, it inspires people. It might even inspire yourself into action, right? It might scare you that you have a big enough goal that is maybe meaningful to you. Now, whether or not you've thought about why you want to be 50 times bigger or better is a totally different story and basically a story for another day, another video maybe. But I think there's a place for big dreams and big visions and ambition, right? Now, the only problem is if you have big dreams but you never break them down to think about how you're going to get there. Because at the end of the day, right, you can think exponentially all you want, but ultimately when it comes down to it, execution is sequential, right? So you'll have to think about maybe how you'll break down that big vision into milestones or checkpoints. Because whether it's going to the gym or making 100 million, right? Or becoming a better father, right? What does 50 times better look like? What activities do you have to do so that you attain that goal eventually? Because if you break that down into these small checkpoints and steps, you'll realize that each checkpoint, each milestone requires you to learn something different. It requires you to become another version of yourself so that you can move to the next checkpoint, because what gets you here won't you get you there, right? So there's that. And then after you think about those checkpoints and milestones and how you're going to execute them, it's going to be how are you going to do them 50 times faster than you are right now, which when you think about is not a very easy thing. Now, at the end of the day, when you break it down sequentially like that, and you realize it's not as easy as you thought it was, then maybe that tempers your vision, right? Or maybe it anchors it in reality to some extent. And then you get to doing the thing. Now, those habits that you implement sequentially, right? Those habits you develop, those small things that build the thing that you want to end up with, right? Those small things, when you do them repeatedly, compound. And then eventually, hopefully, you get to a point where you attain that big goal that you're trying to get to. So it's not bad to dream big, but you can't think about benching 200 pounds, 200 kgs without ever having benched 50. It doesn't work like that. And so, yes, it might just be a dream, right? It might, and If you've never gotten to do this thing that you want to do, even at a smaller scale, the danger is that whatever this big vision you have is not just a vision but a dream purely, because it is totally unrealistic to the extent that you don't know what you're walking into even. But if you've been in this thing for a few years and you've hit some milestones and you still want to be in the game, then by all means, dream as big as you want, but check that you can execute to that level and find out the milestones that you have to hit and the lessons that you need to learn so that you can get yourself to the next level without drowning yourself in a lot more information than you need to solve the problem that gets you past the milestone where you've reached at the moment. See you tomorrow. Bye.